What's up, guys? Big 12D and NTT, and it's been about a year and a half. I said I would do videos every week, but shit happens. And like I said before, I was gonna do the Roaring 20s. Nah, I'm not gonna do that. I decided nah. And as you see, I'm using Prezi, and for this one, we have the Civil War, spewing from 1861 to 65, and I will even go through the aftermath. These are the major battles that happened in the Civil War between 1961 and 1865. And as most of us know, the battle was between the Union, which is all the states in yellow, versus the Confederate, which are all the states in green. And then there's territories over here. They didn't really have much, and then there's Oregon and California. So we start in the year 1861 when the Confederates seceded from the Union. So what is the first thing they do? It's the Battle of Fort Sumter. The Battle of Fort Sumter was in South Carolina, 1861 on April 12th. The battle finally ended on April 14th, 1861. The first shot was fired at 4:30 a.m. by Lieutenant Harry S. Farley, fired a 10-inch mortar into Fort Sumter, and then the bombardment continued. On April 14th, the battle ended when the Confederates raised their flag. The Confederates won that battle, and that officially began the Civil War. There was the bombardment, and there's the end. The Confederates raising their flag. And then you had the first Battle of Bull Hill, or the First Manassas. Whichever one you hear, it's the exact same thing. The battle happened in Virginia on July 21st, 1861. The battle ended when the Union just got overrun, and after they were controlling most of the battle, and also their guns got stolen, which is never a good thing when you're trying to fight. The Union retreated, Confederates won the battle. This is where Thomas Jackson got his name Stonewall, because of this quote by Brigadier General Bernard B. "There is a Jackson standing like a stone wall. Let us determine to die here, and we will conquer, rally behind the Virginians." This is a portrait of an artist's depiction of the battle. And the other picture of the guy was Stonewall Jackson. The last major battle in 1961 was in 1861. Why do I say 1961? I don't even know. The Battle of Wilson was in Missouri on April 10th, 1861. That's just a typo. The battle happened. It was the first battle that happened on the other side of the Mississippi River, like past Wisconsin, Louisiana, all that stuff. After 3 Confederate attacks and the fear of a 4th one, the Union, led by Brigadier Samuel Sturgis, retreated and the Confederates won the battle. So at the beginning of the war, the Confederates were winning, which was fearing for Abraham Lincoln and the Union Army. The battle picture. And so we move on to the next year, 1862. With the Battle of Fort Donelson. It took place at Fort Donelson, Tennessee, on February 11th, 1862, and ended 5 days later. After the counterattack from the Union that broke the Confederate defenses at Fort Donelson on the 15th of February, they surrendered on the 16th to Brigadier General Ulysses S. Grant. So this was Ulysses S. Grant's first major victory. It was at Fort Donelson. Some more portraits, and we move on. The Battle of Island Number 10, or the Battle of New Madrid. This was more a Navy battle that you really never hear about. It happened in New Madrid, Missouri, at and Lake County, Tennessee, kind of on like the border of it, on the Mississippi River between February 28th, 1862, and it was all the way till April 8th of 1862. They were led by the Union was led by Brigadier General John Pope. They wanted to siege the island after a number of attempts to get it with gunboats. The Confederates surrendered to the other field officer Forte because they didn't really want to surrender to John Pope for some reason, and opened to Mississippi up to Fort Pillow. There's kind of like the battle, because you never really hear about Navy battles in the Civil War, but there was one, and that was the Battle of Island Number 10. And then the Battle of Shiloh. It was a 2-day battle between April 6th and April 7th in southwest Tennessee. The Union general was now led into battle by Major General, he got a promotion, Ulysses S. Grant, and the Confederates were led by General Albert Sidney Johnston. In the beginning, the Confederates were pushing the Union back into the night of April 6th. The Union Army then did a counterattack, and by the evening, the Confederates surrendered and kind of retreated, and the Union won the Battle of Shiloh. There's kind of like the art depiction, and there's like, this is the memorial that you can see now at Shiloh. And then you got the Second Manassas, or the Second Battle of Bull Run. It happened between August 28th and 30th of 1862. This was culminated by the battles between General Robert E. Lee of the Confederate Army of Northern Virginia and the Union Major General John Pope Army of Virginia. It was the same battlefield as Bull Run, no crap, but this one was much bigger. Take like Bull Run and times it by like 5. After multiple attacks by the Union Army, the Confederates launched a counterattack led under by Major General James Longstreet that drove the Union forces back and forced them to retreat. And then the one more is Fredericksburg. It was December 11th to the 15th. The battle's main armies was the Confederate Army of Northern Virginia by Robert E. Lee and the Army of the Potomac, led under Ambrose E. Burnside. And just to say, if you ever Google Ambrose E. Burnside, he is the man that defines sideburns. He just had the sideburns all the way down, looping towards his mustache. Well, at the south end of the Union forces tried to attack and broke through, but there was no backup supporting them, so they were basically fucked. And so it failed. The northern end of the Union was broke through, and the Confederate Army started to retreat. On the 14th, Confederate General wanted another counterattack, but he got talked out of it, and the Confederate Army withdrew from the battle. And then we get to 1863, which I believe, in my opinion, is the turning point. This year kind of turned it against the Confederacy and moved it more to the Union side of the battle. Starting with the Battle of Chancellorsville was between April 30th and May 6th. The battle was pitted between the Union Army of the Potomac under Major General Joseph Hooker and the Confederate Army of Northern Virginia against Robert E. Lee. Note that the Northern Virginian Army was less than half its normal size. Hooker wanted to attack, but found he can't from where he was with his army. Then, what happened was, on May 2nd, Stonewall performed a flank move. It went around the Union Army and hit their backside, and got demolished, and they were forced to retreat. The sad part, and also another Confederate, this is why it was also a turning point, on the way back to their home base, Stonewall Jackson got shot by friendly fire because the guy thought he was one of the Union Army coming to attack him, and he died on May 10th due to ammonia. Lee had cornered the Union Army, but he went back to Fredericksburg to fight in order to end of the battle. The Union forces were forced to withdraw, making this a Confederate victory. Although, if you really want to call it, really in the books it's a Confederate victory, but it kind of is lost by the loss of Stonewall Jackson. And then we get to the major battle, the one everybody remembers, and what I believe is also the turning point of the war, is Gettysburg. Gettysburg happened between July 1st and July 3rd of 1863 in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. The main battle was between Major General Meade, Army of the Potomac, and Lee, Army of Northern Virginia. The Confederate Army pushed the Union into Gettysburg, and the Union kind of make like a cane shape, like the candy cane. They kind of make that shape around Cemetery Hill, and they were there until the third day, until the Union reinforcements kind of finally showed up and pushed the Confederates back to retreating. It was the bloodiest battle on U.S. soil, more than the Revolution, more than the War of 1812, and more than like the Mexican-American War and all those. The casualties on both sides combined were 57,225 deaths. This marked a turning point in the war, like I said, and the last effort for the Confederates to invade the North. Because after this battle, all the other battles were fought in the Confederacy. No other battles were fought in the Union. This was an artist's depiction, and funny story. This is not how he found it. He kind of drugged the bodies to make this picture what it is right now. He just staged this. We'll get to 1864 with the Battle of the Wilderness, which was in the wilderness, in like Wood area, May 5th to May 7th of 1864. This was the first battle between Lee and Grant. Lieutenant now. Back when we last saw him, he was a major general. He's a lieutenant now. The fight went back and forth between both armies trying to attack each other to break through, and it came to no avail, and the battle ended up inclusive. Nobody was the winner. Nobody could seem to get the upper hand, and it was basically a draw. Then you get the Battle of Westport, which happened on October 23rd of 1864. This battle was referred to as the Gettysburg of the West. Like across the Mississippi. It was like their Gettysburg. It was fought between the Confederate Army of Missouri and the Army of the Border, like the border between the Confederacy. Yeah, you get that. At the end of the battle, the Confederates retreated, and the Union Army launched a massive attack. So they retreated, and then the Union Army just ran right after them and tried to kill everyone. Then you get to the final year of the war, which was 1865. Only 2 major battles because the war ended in April. You get the Third Battle of Petersburg. The Third Battle of Petersburg was April 2nd of 1865. This was the first win of Grant against Lee. The Union forces attacked in trenches that the Confederates were in, and they were forced to retreat. This would end the fight and the fall of Petersburg and Richmond, Virginia. So now Petersburg is gone, Richmond's gone for the Confederacy. They don't know what to do, and it all culminates at the courthouse. It was fought on April 9th, 1865, final battle of the Civil War. It was fought between General Lee of the Confederate Army and then Grant. And then Lee surrenders at the courthouse, ending the war, and this war had many casualties. This is a picture of them signing the document saying, alright, we're done. And the aftermath. Total casualties of the Civil War. The Union, 360,222. The Confederate Army was 258,000. You gotta think, that's a whole lot. And then we all know, just days after the signing, Abraham Lincoln was shot in the Ford Theater by John Wilkes Booth, which I'm probably going to do an in-depth analysis on Ford's Theater, the life of John Wilkes Booth, and I'm going to go a little more into Abraham Lincoln's life, and then how these two culminated on April 14th, 1865, in a moment that Americans are well taught about. Robert E. Lee got pardoned. He got all of his war crimes disabled by President Andrew Jackson for the involvement in the war, and then he became the president of Washington College. On October 12th, he died, 1870, he died from pneumonia. Then you ask yourself, what happened to Grant? Well, he becomes the 18th president of the United States. That's what the major general for the Union Army gets. He becomes the president from 1869 to 1877, and then he dies of throat cancer on March 4th of 1877. And that's basically it. I mean, it's a very good topic, don't get me wrong, but I've loved the Civil War ever since I was like a kid, so this is all very interesting and very well. So leave a like if you liked it, subscribe if you even want to, and if you want to comment, tell me which one I should do, like World War One, Revolution, War of 1812, in-depth analysis on the shooting of Abraham Lincoln. Leave it in the comment section. If it gets most likes, I will probably do it. If this video does not get any comments, I'll probably be waiting like 2 months until I do my next video. So, thank you, and it's a good day in the world of history.